Hey guys, I really didn't want to have to do this, but YouTube's copyright system is fucking crazy. They go around blocking willy-nilly without checking if the video is within the guidelines of the copyright fair use law, so I uploaded the video twice and it got blocked, and no matter how many times I edited. So I had to resort to extreme measures to ensure that doesn't happen again. At a certain point in the video, you will see this pop up on screen. Don't get scared now. It's just for the copyright AI to not register the copyrighted material. So yeah, that's a little disclaimer I wanted to make. You may hear crickets because it's really early in the morning and I'm kind of dead right now, so enjoy. Okay, so after 2 years of milking the Mandalorian cow, Disney Plus finally graces us with some premium Marvel content. And about time too. I was really itching for my fix of Marvel right about now. I have to admit, I wasn't crazy enthusiastic about this show, but I was curious to see what they were putting together with this whole sitcom thing, so I went in with a healthy level of excitement, given that after all, it was the first new Marvel Phase 4 content they had put out since their longest hiatus yet. So the day they dropped the first 2 episodes, I woke up early, watched them, and at first I wasn't feeling it as much as I wished. I mean, it was cute and all, but it was just like watching a lost pilot of a 1950s sitcom that never aired. They both had good clues and hints that something was not quite right, like Mrs. Hart not breaking character while her husband was choking to death, and the beekeeper/rewind scenes. But overall, what went through my mind was, what if this wasn't part of the MCU? Based on the pilot, and only the pilot alone, this show would have never been picked up in my opinion. But they do have 10 years of 20 plus movies and an established universe and characters backing them up. A real unprecedented achievement, by the way, so they definitely get a pass. And with Kevin Feige behind it, I'm sure it's well thought out. I do have to say they committed to the concept all the way, even filming in front of a live audience that would have had to sign the most strict NDAs in history. Down to the photography, the set design, joke structure, line delivery, they nailed everything to stay as faithful to the era as possible. Even the commercials, which were really fun, they were really creative in the ways they nodded to the larger MCU with the Stark toaster and the Hydra watch and the soap. Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany also looked like they were having a blast. Being able to do more with the characters other than being sad or in battle mode most of the time. The chemistry together also really helped carry a lot of the first 2 episodes for me. They were adorable. Also, I really like how each episode ended in a Twilight Zone-ish kind of way, letting you know that something is up and hinting at Wanda's involvement with that
No.
at the end of episode 2. And what was up with that implied sex scene at the beginning of the episode? Stop being horny, show. I would say episode 2 with drunk gummed up Vision is the most entertaining one of the first 2. It was all very original, very fresh, very charming, straight up creepy at times with that very sinister undertone throughout, but I was wondering, for how long exactly were they gonna be able to push this without losing the people that sign up for a superhero show more in the vein of what we've seen in the movie? And by the way, this is apparently the most expensive show ever made, costing approximately $25 million per episode, making the entire season cost around $225 million, which makes me think somebody is banking or they have some real crazy shit saved for the final 4 episodes, because up until this point this show doesn't look like it cost $225 million. To put that into perspective, Game of Thrones' most expensive season costed around $90 million, and they didn't spend any time on a relatively low budget 1950s sitcom land. The whole show was filmed as a current show. It ended up being an absolute disappointment and a waste of $90 million, but that's a topic for another time. Episode 3 dropped, and then was when the show jumped to the colorized TV era of the 70s and started dropping much more solid clues of what was really going on. That's when it made sense to me that they sent the first 3 episodes to critics instead of the first 2. That's where the show got really gripping, highlighting the townsfolk's sense of entrapment and confirming Wanda's control over them with that really suspenseful scene with Monica, and Wanda looked mean, and the fact that they don't even show you what she did to Monica right away makes it look even scarier. Her having that light speed pregnancy and the twins at the end of the episode led up to my favorite funny scene. And at this point, the show has set up so many mysteries and questions that I had a hard time keeping up with them.
Please.
Show.
I want some
Answers. Then, episode 4 dropped. And this is when Marvel set me aside and told me, hey listen kid, sit down, shut the fuck up, watch this, you'll love it. We know what the fuck we're doing. We're Marvel, shut up.
Listen, you little wiseacre. I'm smart, you're dumb. I'm big, you're little. I'm right, you're wrong. And there's nothing you can do about it.
And it hooked me. It begins with Monica Rambeau de-dusting and finding out that her mom died of cancer while she was gone, which is incredibly dark if you think about what that implies for a second. Here we see the not so bright ramifications of what happened in Endgame. We saw a bit of the de-dusting in Far From Home, but it was played for laughs there. Here we feel the heaviness of a situation of a mother dying of cancer and her daughter not being there for her. And that makes me think of all the possible fucked up scenarios like this one that sprawled out of the reverse snap. Imagine all the Tom Hanks at the end of Castaway situations that had to have happened where the husband and wife was snapped away and came back 5 years later to someone that had already moved on with someone else because they thought they were gone for good. This episode made me think of that shit in its first 5 minutes. I also love that we see Asian Jim again and that he finally mastered the card trick he tried to learn all the way back in Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Sir, can you knock?
What an arc. Darcy is back too, and I gotta say, this episode turned her into my Marvel crush. I gotta point out, I got a little confused with the whole selective amnesia issue. The way I got it, it's supposed to be a proximity thing. But if it's that, why don't the SWORD agents forget about the town? They're this close to it. Maybe I missed something, let me know. In this one, we take the outside perspective of what's been going on during the past 3 episodes, and those were all building up to this one episode, with most of our questions up to this point being answered and some others being sprinkled in. We see the little drone going in the bubble that turns into the toy helicopter Wanda finds, Monica getting sucked into the reality bubble, turning into Geraldine, the guy in the hazmat suit that turns into the beekeeper, and we get the idea that everything that crosses Wanda's bubble adapts to whatever reality she is reflecting into the world, and that is dope. Although I did find odd that the reality bubble sucked Monica in and not the beekeeper guy. He kinda just crawled in without any type of force pulling him. We see Asian Jim's attempt to communicate with Wanda through the radio, and this is where I figured that the time inside the fictional WandaVision show runs at a different pace than the time outside the bubble. Because in a couple minutes, she's already in the 70s, giving birth and facing Monica. We find out what happened with Monica and she got yeeted through walls, and I'm pretty sure that would kill most people. This next scene made my eyebrows touch my hairline. This is a horror show. Dead Vision with a big chunk of head missing sent chills down my spine. This shows us just how far Wanda is willing to go just to keep some version of her boo around. And I've never really thought about how shitty Wanda's life's been up until this show dropped. Her parents dying, being experimented on, being manipulated by a robot, losing her brother, having to fight her friends, being on the run for 2 years, having to kill her boyfriend only for him to be revived and killed again in front of her. And then she gets dusted. And a lot more shit that I'm probably forgetting right now. So yeah, you bet your ass she's gonna be a bit cranky. Just imagine the level of trauma that sequence of events would cause somebody, especially if that somebody is one of the most powerful beings walking the face of the earth. This is how she copes. And I don't really want to think about Wanda writing Dead Vision a couple episodes ago, so moving on to episode 5. In this one we jump to the 80s eras of television, and Wanda's kids are aging in dog years. This episode takes everything that worked from the last one and elevates it. They stroke a nice balance, jumping back and forth from the WandaVision show and the stuff happening outside the bubble, which follows Monica right after Wanda throws her out. However, Monica does vouch for Wanda. We see security footage of Wanda stealing Vision's corpse from the SWORD HQ labs, and holy shit, let's start by saying that this is his body and it was pulled apart like a Lego. She probably had to put him together, and that thought alone is fucked up. Not to mention that she is puppeteering him, at least I think. Although at this point we don't really know how Vision is quote unquote alive, so we still have that question to be answered. Back in sitcom land, Wanda's kids adopt a dog and call him Sparky because he almost got electrocuted with a power outlet. From that moment they might as well have called him dead, because I've never seen or even heard of a dog doing that dumb shit. At the sword camp, our trio plans how to get into the bubble again, and Captain Marvel gets brought up, and Monica looks as salty as a pirate's armpit. There's a story there. Probably Monica resents her for leaving and never even visiting her or her mom, most likely for not being there for her friend when she needed her the most. There's something juicy there. They figure that if they get tech from the time the sitcom world's taking place, it won't remix their reality around it. This next part is Twilight Zone material. They get old school PCs at Vision's work and they all receive an email that they all decide to read together like a Sunday mass. Like, this show isn't creepy enough. When Vision breaks Norm free of the trance and he was like, it starts freaking out and telling him to make her stop, and with Monica's description of being under Wanda's spell being described as a violation, the horror and desperation in his face made Vision realize that Wanda is behind all of this. And then he puts him right back under that spell, baby. Meanwhile, Wanda talks to the kids about her brother in a way that makes it sound as if he was still alive. What a wacky, crazy, impossible idea. We all know that if you die in Marvel, you have a better chance of being recasted than coming back. I mean, because if Marvel kills you, you're not coming back. Ever. And that's a fact. A drone is snooping around outside of Wanda's place and we're supposed to believe that is 80s tech. I'm sorry, maybe I'm dumb, but that shit looks futuristic. Not like any 80s tech I've ever seen. They managed to get Wanda so pissed she comes out of the bubble and her accent comes back. And that's when she lifted her skirt to show the thickest, veiniest, most vigorous dick in town. A real power move. She is truly a villain at this point. It is true that she's gone through some shit and she might be doing this with good intentions, but she is still keeping an entire town hostage, so yeah. She tells him to fuck off and that she won't say it again. And by the way, what happened to that beekeeper guy? They sent him in and nobody's even asked about him yet. I haven't heard anyone bring this up. They completely forgot Monica wasn't the only one that was sent in, and this guy is still trapped. Justice for beekeeper guy. Right after that, we see a Lagos brand paper towel commercial. Nice callback to the mess Wanda made back in Civil War, although, to be fair, it was a classic trolley dilemma situation. No matter what she did, people was going to die, so she saved folks by killing folks. Regardless, we jump to Wanda and the kids looking for Sparky, who died by hanging around Agnes's bush, which makes Wanda give this whole speech about how you can't run away from your problems and that some things are forever. Really, Wanda? Really? You seriously don't see the hypocrisy you're delivering here? I kinda hate Wanda now after listening to her baloney wrapped bullshit. Anyways, later we see Vision confront Wanda and Paul Bettany killed it in this scene. The frustration and anger reflected on his face. It was a very powerful moment for me. And then Wanda keeps lying until Quicksilver, played by Evan Peters, appears knocking on her door.
You didn't see that coming?
No, I did not. I will be honest, I did hear about the rumors of Evan Peters being casted in the show a couple months back, and I didn't really think they were necessarily true, but even if they were, I didn't think that he would be playing Quicksilver. And I still don't. I did give into the hype and buy it for a few minutes, but after thinking about it, it wouldn't make sense. Even if he was from a different universe, how would he be there? Why did he go to Wanda's place at the precise moment Vision was getting through to Wanda? And why would Wanda recognize him as Pietro? He looks nothing like Aaron Taylor Johnson, so why would she go along with it? He's probably playing someone else pretending to be Pietro, which is super clever and meta. Deadpool would be proud. It was fun to see him as Quicksilver again though. And you're probably wondering why I haven't mentioned Mephisto yet. Oh, Mephisto. And it's because I'm sick and tired of everyone I come across to talk about this show that's seen a couple of new Rockstars videos and now they think they're smarter than anyone. No, I don't think Mephisto is behind all of this fuckery. And I really wish I'm right. Wanda descending into darkness and becoming a true villain is much more compelling to me than the devil did it, but who knows, maybe there's been something amazing and they make me eat my words like earlier this season. Either way, I'm excited to see what they got in store. Anyways guys, that was it for today. This is part 1 of a 2-parter review. Obviously up to this point there's only been 5 episodes released, so that's all I got to work with right now. So yeah, the show is amazing. I love it. I was skeptic at first about it, but after a couple episodes I was invested and I am eating it up. Anyways guys, if you did like this video, remember to hit that like button and subscribe for more content like this. I will be coming back for a part 2 of this video when the rest of the show comes out, so be on the lookout for that. I also have an Instagram account you can follow at caffeine.prince98. I don't have a Twitter because I hate it, and Facebook is for the family. I'll catch you guys later. Peace.